Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? For a while there, I wasn't sure if I was ever going to drop another video again, because I didn't have the motivation to even re-upload my classic videos like I said I would, which only takes like 10 minutes. Well, as you can plainly see, I sure as hell got my motivation back. In fact, I was planning on making a parody of various Red Pill channels on YouTube, and I do still intend on making that video. But, some, developments have transpired to where this video right here has taken top priority. And ironically, it's a video where the theme is why men should have some form of Red Pill awareness. How much of a priority are we talking? So much so that this video is getting simultaneously uploaded on both my YouTube and my personal Facebook page, which is the first time I've ever done such a thing. Yeah, it's that much of a doozy. I said from day one, back when I made my first video in 2013, that I'm an equal opportunity expose artist, which means I won't just expose people I encounter over the internet, but I'll gladly expose people in my real personal life too if it's warranted. This video right here falls on the latter side of things. Today, I'm not just going to burn a bridge in my personal life. I'm going to nuke that motherfucker and the surrounding area out of existence. In fact, a good lot of my Fort Stewart battle buddies from my army days will likely know exactly who it is I'm going to be talking about in this here video and may get an extra kick out of it than most of the other people that'll watch. In fact, I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised if one or many of them were to link this female I'll be talking about today directly to this video. She also happens to be subscribed to my YouTube channel, which I don't foresee lasting very long if and when she sees this video. So, get some popcorn, grab a seat, and get comfortable. Because boy oh boy, does Daddy Exposer got a story to tell you. Buckle up, cause you're about to be taken for a ride. First, a little backstory to set the stage, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible so I can get to the good stuff, i.e., the reason why you're all here. Back in 2010, when I was in the Army and deployed to Iraq, I met this girl who turned out to not only have the same MOS as me, but was also my squad mate. And it didn't take very long for there to be some chemistry, some sparks, if you will. It was so evident that I could literally feel it and you could cut it with a knife. I even told my girlfriend when I was Skyping with her that it felt like I was hunkered down in a foxhole and taking heavy fire. That's how obvious it was. We had this kind of semi-aggressive, sort of daring and challenging each other type of sexual poking and prodding with how we talked to one another. Probably because I'm slightly over 9 years older than she is and she's attracted to older men. She even told me that she would make me not want my girlfriend anymore. Basically, we were spitting game 2/flirting with each other. The whole thing continued off and on even after we got back to the States. She even practically begged me to come with her to Savannah, Georgia for New Year's Eve of 2012. And even though I wasn't feeling very good, I said fuck it and went along. That thumbnail for this video was us on that night. Obviously, I covered up her face because while I'm very much about to nuke this girl off the face of the earth, I'm at least going to hold on to a scrap of the high road by not showing her face, or even some of the other things she sent me, one of which was a rather interesting short video. Yeah, no nudes, but it was still rather sexual in nature. I could give you more specific instances and examples that further built this connection that we had, but that'll needlessly pad out the video. Just know and understand that it ran pretty deep, and if she sees this video and makes some kind of response, she'll probably try to downplay or even outright deny it now that we're on bad terms. But I've got the receipts, so it's not a good idea for her to even try, because I can very easily expose her to be lying if she were to do that. Now you may be asking, well, if the connection was so good, why didn't you try to make something happen? Well, for one, I already had a girlfriend whom I'm still with to this very day. Potentially not for very much longer though, but that's a possible video for another day. However, in addition to that, despite feeling a pretty big connection with her, I also felt something was off with her. You know that feeling and intuition you have as a man whenever you meet a woman that tells you that something isn't quite right with her? Yeah, that's what I felt. Granted, that feeling was on a bit of a dull level because even back then, I saw she had great potential. I even told her fairly recently that there are things about her that are absolute wife material, but there are also things about her that would indicate that she's for the streets, which is probably what set off my intuition alarm to begin with, and that sort of countering dynamic actually makes her more attractive. But unfortunately, as we'll get into here momentarily, the red flags started to pile up and they proved my initial gut instinct to be correct. Anyways, I left the army in 2013, and ironically, it was her that drove me to the airport, and she was the last person from my unit that I had direct contact with before setting off to my new life. Fast forward 7 years later to the present day. For the past few months, my girlfriend and I have been having problems. I posted about these issues fairly regularly on my Facebook. I'm not going to get too deep into the specifics, but I may touch on them a little later in this video as sort of a compare and contrast with the shit that this girl has pulled. At the same time all these personal domestic issues were going on, I noticed this girl was posting and sharing a whole bunch of sad, woe is me type stuff on her Facebook regarding loneliness, bad experiences with men, wanting and yearning for a profound love, all this typical female wish fulfillment based on seeing too many chick flicks type of BS. I was also noticing that she had been viewing some of my Facebook stories, so I figured I'd hit her up in her DMs to see what was up. We texted for a little bit, I gave her my updated phone number, and she called me up. We started catching up on what has been going on in each other's lives for the past 7 years, including me talking about the various problems I've been having with my woman. And in all actuality, this was the first real red flag she presented, and she prefaced it with the phrase, "Don't judge me." Fellas, listen closely. If a woman opens with the phrase, "Don't judge me," before going into detail about some wild shit, she knows or should know that she's fucking up, okay? Why else would you have to add that preface if you're not doing anything wrong or shameful or questionable in any way? Answer, you wouldn't. And lo and behold, she was on some shady BS. Basically, she's been fucking around with a 65-year-old rich CEO who is married and has kids. Granted, the youngest of his offspring is like 24 or 25 years old, but she's still basically playing side piece to a sugar daddy who already has a wife. All that woe is me stuff on her Facebook that she had been posting was basically the result of her wanting him to leave his wife and commit to her 100%. But he was dragging his feet, likely because his wife co-owns his company and the divorce would be a messy situation. Now, I didn't say anything at the time because, after all, I'm in my own entanglement as well while I'm talking to her, so who am I to judge? But in my mind, I was a judging motherfucker. I was judge, jury, and jailer within my own head. She probably thought I would judge her for messing around with a dude more than double her age, but I didn't and still don't give a shit about that. I was more judging her for knowingly messing around with a married man. I don't care what sob story he fed her about how unhappy he was in his marriage because his wife was an alcoholic or some shit. You don't fuck around with somebody that's married, period. It does nothing but cause immense complications. And like I said, a large part of the reason for the loneliness she was complaining about was because he couldn't be with her all the time and he was dragging his feet with leaving his wife. And look, don't get it twisted. I'm not at all saying or thinking that I'm squeaky clean in all this. Talking to another woman in a romantic context behind your girlfriend's back, while not cheating by any definition, is still a pretty scummy thing to do even if you're having relationship problems. However, compared to what this bitch was doing, I come off smelling like roses. Not only am I not married and have far more freedom to leave, but I'm not actually fucking around with anybody. And the hilarious part is she seemed so concerned about the fact that this dude she was fucking with was potentially or already putting his wife through so much torment and agony with the affair. Bitch, if you were really concerned about that, you wouldn't have started messing around with her husband to begin with. So you can go ahead and miss me with that bullshit. Oh, but that connection she had with him was so off the charts. Oh my God. They are soulmates that managed to find each other. She just couldn't help herself. It was destiny and fate, I tells ya. Yeah, I'll bet that money and how he dug all up in your ribcage gave you all kinds of meant-to-be feelings, didn't it? Yet she wanted to say that she didn't care about the money because if he got divorced, he would lose most of it anyway. Girl, please. Are you fucking serious? Do I look dumb to you? The dude co-owns $1 million company with his wife. Even with dividing the assets and taking potential alimony into the equation, he's still gonna have racks for days. The fuck is you talking about? Of course the money was a big factor in your attraction to him. Helen Keller's long-rotted corpse would be able to see that. She claimed to so not care about that money, but she told me about these fancy public outings, complete with valet parking, they would go to before COVID happened. She told me that she sometimes did lines of coke with him. I mean, she didn't outright say it was him she was doing coke with, but come on. She said it was one person she was doing coke with. Coke is an expensive drug, and coke is often used to enhance sex, so put two and two together. Oh, but I'm sure she'll also say that she was going to school for nursing, and if she really cared about his money, she wouldn't have her own thing going on like that. Except that she was doing that out of necessity in the event that he wasn't going to leave his wife and family. She even told me that she would much rather assume a traditional female role and have a guy provide for her, and a rich CEO would be a pretty damn good candidate for the job. So she was investing all this time and energy, both romantic and self-suffering, for a dude who not only wasn't making any real significant moves to leave his wife after 2 years, but also had other affairs before her. Basically, she was rewarding him for his bad behavior and tried to rationalize it by saying the situation was convenient for her due to her time spent working and going to school, even though it contradicted what it was she claimed to want in a relationship. The dude even gave her 2 red flags of his own, but she was still so enamored that it barely registered. He told her that he liked to live free. Ladies, if a dude tells you that he likes to live free, that means he wants to come and go and fuck as many bitches as he pleases. He also said that she was slowly starting to become the goddess of his world. Slowly starting. After 2 years, she was only then slowly starting to become the most important thing to him. That right there indicates to me that she wasn't his only side bitch. And the worst part of all was that she was having unprotected sex with him and came off of birth control at his request because he was hoping to get her pregnant. Let me repeat this. She willingly came off birth control so it would be possible for her to become pregnant by an elderly married man. Yeah, because that's not an absolute recipe for disaster that could very easily lead to her becoming a single mother. But of course, no matter how many times I told her that she was making a huge mistake by doing this, not only because she would be bringing a child into a fucked up situation, but because she could endanger her ability to go to school and potentially jeopardize her ambition of having a career as a nurse, she didn't want to hear any of it. Hell, she was A-okay with the idea of willingly being a single mother, even to the point of going the sperm donor route if she reached age 35 without a man, which in retrospect was a major red flag. Willing single motherhood has become an absolute epidemic in this modern dating age, and it's absolutely not a good thing for the children being brought into the world under these circumstances, which I also told her.
There are many things that show clear evidence that the woman is not meant to be the top leader. Let me show you what's called data. Since you're in university, you can look at this data, and then we can assess what the data says about lonely mothers. And I'll explain further why I use the term lonely mothers. It's not to shame you. Instead, it's to make it stigmatized because it's not a good thing for society.
You think that I don't need you to show me any data that's going to help me understand that
over the past 30 years, the rise in violent crime parallels the rise in abandonment by fathers, meaning single mothers. If you look at all of the data on single mothers, you find that the children raised by single mothers, or shall we say lonely mothers, all the data indicates that these children are more likely to be incarcerated in prison, right? They're likely to go to fucking jail. They're likely to have less educational attainment, which means that single mothers are not good leaders. Single mothers are terrible leaders.
But yeah, I kind of ignored that bad sign of entanglement and all the red flags associated with it because, again, I was in a complication of my own, so who the hell was I to really hold that against her? Well, now that shit's gone left, I can hold it against her all I want. However, it's not the actual reason why I cut her off, as I'll elaborate on momentarily. But I thought I'd bring all this up just to really paint the picture of the type of character she has. Actually, one last thing about this whole sugar daddy entanglement before I move on. Another red flag she showed me was when she told me that at some of these fancy social gatherings she went to with said sugar daddy, she would talk to these other dudes and flirt with them to get their hopes up, knowing full well that they weren't going to get to hit it because her sugar daddy was turned on by knowing that these guys wouldn't get to have her, but he would later that night. This one I also kind of put in the back of my mind because it's not like the dude was even at her crib in the back somewhere watching her talk to me. And we weren't even really talking in that kind of way to begin with. We were talking about an actual long-term relationship in the event that he took too long trying to decide whether to leave his wife for her. Therefore, it came across as her being more genuine with me. She could have been reporting back to him to enhance their sex life, but then why would she tell me that she liked to do that? Or she could have just been using me for the attention and validation she wasn't able to constantly get from him while she was in school, but I'll never know, and quite frankly, I don't care. So anyways, wow, I did end up getting quite a bit ahead of myself, so let's backtrack a bit. Soon after we started talking, stuff came out on my end that I had long been harboring a deep interest in her even after all the time I had spent with my girlfriend, and she seemed to really enjoy and be intrigued by the idea, potentially as an option if shit went south with her sugar daddy. Part of her enjoyment and intrigue about the idea of us being together was that, like I alluded to earlier, we had chemistry back in the day. What made it even more interesting and kind of spooky was that I was noticing little signs here and there that were indicating that I should head in her direction. I might get mocked for saying this, but I have a bit of a fascination with numerology as the language of the universe and how it pertains to the balance of said universe. And lo and behold, she had an interest in it as well when I told her about it. I'm not going to get into every single solitary sign I noticed, but the big one that started it off was that it had been 7 years since the last time we had significant contact. 7 is considered a lucky number, especially when it comes to relationships. Maybe the lesson to be learned from all this is that it's all just bullshit and there is no rhyme, reason, or balance in what goes on in the universe. But regardless, we were really enjoying each other's company. She did get a little bit upset with me when I told her that I was waiting to see if she would actually hit me up on her own soon after we really started talking heavy in the DMs as a way to test her. She replied back with, "I don't need to be tested." Clearly you do based on what would happen much later, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Soon after this though, we did have our first fight, and it stemmed from her asking me really serious and heavy questions, and her dancing around the reasons why she was asking them. She first asked, "Have you ever seriously thought about you and I as a couple?" Of course I said absolutely, and then inquired as to why she was asking, to which she responded with, "Just curious." Then she asked me, If you and your girlfriend break up, are you planning to stay single? I say that I'm not sure, but it's looking very likely because I've had a bad taste in my mouth from women for a long time, and I know damn well that finding an actual good one in this day and age is really fucking hard, and that I'm getting way too old to deal with the BS. I again asked her why she was asking, and she again responded with, "Just curious." Then she asked me a really big one. Would you be open to the idea of children? Because she does really want to start a family of her own to compensate for the mediocre treatment she got and continues to get from her own family. I said that I was indifferent to the idea, but not in any way opposed. I have an, if it happens, it happens, if it don't sort of take on it. I yet again ask her why she was asking me this, and yet again she replies with, "Just curious." At this point I'm thinking, no woman, come on. Those are very specific questions to ask for no other reasons besides curiosity. Like, stop. I think it was like a day or so later that I confronted her about beating around the bush like that and to just say what I knew was on her mind. That she was feeling a type of way about me and that she was feeling me out. But she decided to shut down and go into her passive-aggressive mode, just responding back with, okay, if you say so, which is yet another red flag. Not being able to talk about shit like a fucking grown adult and not being receptive to shit she doesn't want to hear. It's funny to me that I tell her about some of the shit my girlfriend was doing, and this girl has shit to say about said girlfriend being childish and immature. Well, Snookums, if you're watching this, you ain't much better. And as I'll elaborate more on soon, in some ways you're actually worse. It makes perfect sense that you sometimes need to suck on your thumb in order to help you get to sleep, because that passive-aggressive bullshit is pure childish petulance. Oh yeah, I went there, and you can feel any type of way you want about it because I give zero fucks. I'm sure you're going to try to be like, I'm never opening myself up like that again. This is just going to make me distrust people even more, blah, blah, blah. No. That's not the lesson you should take away from this. The lesson you should take away from this is to be mindful of your own actions, hold yourself accountable, and be receptive when people point out when you're behaving like a shitbag, so you don't piss off the wrong person and end up getting incinerated on a public forum. Like what's happening right now. Now, I wasn't perfect in that situation either because one of my last messages during that whole exchange was left on read for a pretty long time, and as a result, I thought she had decided to ignore me. So I basically said that I was initiating radio silence until she was willing to woman the fuck up and talk to me like a grown fucking adult. Well, as it turns out, she had me on red because she couldn't respond to my messages because she had an appointment. And you know what I did? I humbled myself, took accountability for my mistake, and tried to make amends. Something she is obviously incapable of doing, as we'll get into in a moment. But like I said, I wasn't perfect in this whole entire situation. In fact, during the first month or so of our reconnection, my head was a jumbled mess of emotions. I had the stress of this constant conflict going on with my girlfriend. I had this girl back in my life. I was seeing mystical signs that were indicating that this girl should be the one I should flock to. I was having both good and bad dreams about the both of them. This girl even told me she had a sex dream about me. And of course those very specific questions I talked about earlier and her trying to play them off as mere nonchalant curiosity. As a result of this emotional roller coaster I was going on, combined with my already calculated mentality, I was feeling very anxious and kind of wanting to force things to happen. And you know, to her credit, she was very patient and understanding with me, and basically kept telling me, hey, slow your roll, pump your brakes, take this thing one day at a time, and whatever happens, happens. And you know, it took time, but I was finally able to get into that groove of just letting the chips fall where they may, and everything was good. So yeah, I mean, her exercising that kind of patience and understanding with me showed that she really had great potential. and was worth investing time into even with all the shit surrounding us, you know? From like mid to late October to early December, we talked constantly, usually via FaceTime. Like I alluded to before, I kinda had to lie to my girlfriend telling her I was going for a walk so I could get out of the apartment to be able to talk to this girl. But to be fair, I usually did actually go for a walk after I was done. And out of all the times I told my girlfriend I was going for a walk, I only talked to this girl first about 30 to 40% of the time. But now is where we finally get to the juicy meat and potatoes of the video. The main event. Even though I've talked about some red flags, as well as some good things, now we've reached the timeline of events that led to this whole thing going left. Back around early September, before we started FaceTiming, we talked on the phone as I already alluded to. During one of these phone calls, she says, "Hey, I gotta go. Can I call you back in like 10 minutes? I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And we hung up. 10 minutes go by. Then half an hour goes by. Then an hour. Then 2 hours. Nothing. So around the 3 or 4 hour mark, I text her back and was like, "Hey, what happened to the 10 minutes? If I remember correctly, she said that she had been talking on the phone with her grandmother. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Were you talking to her for the entire 3 or so hours? And she was like, "Nah, I took a shower and also did some other things." Needless to say, I was heated. People, one of my major pet peeves is when people say they're going to call you right back and leave you hanging with no further notice. I absolutely cannot fucking stand that shit. If you're going to set an expectation of contacting me right back, you better either honor your damn word or shoot me a quick text saying you won't be able to honor your word because something has come up. You do either of those, then I've got no problem. But if you just leave me hanging without any sort of indication that you're not calling me back, oh, you best believe I got a fucking problem. It's fucking disrespectful to me and shows that you don't value the time that I'm giving you. I don't give my time out to just anybody. I have to think or feel like you're worthy of it. And when you do shit like that that makes me look stupid for even bothering to give my time to you, I take that very personally. And as far as I'm concerned, any self-respecting man would take it personally as well. So needless to say, I gave her a pretty stern talking to, communicating to her that I didn't appreciate her flaking on me like that, told her the reasons why, told her that it would be in her best interest to not pull that again, and that there's a simple step she can take to prevent that from happening in the future. She basically let me talk, and after I was done, she said something to the effect of, "I let you go off on your little tantrum." In hindsight, that was a major red flag, and I should have checked her ass again right on the spot. But I figured we had just reconnected, and I didn't exactly want to ruin things by turning the whole thing into an ugly fight, so I let that little remark go. However, I got the idea that she still didn't see what the big deal was, so I posted a status on my Facebook about how much I can't stand it when people pull what she pulled. Of course, not dropping her name because it didn't just apply to her, as I've hated experiencing it when anybody else has done it to me in my life. But yeah, I posted about it and she left a reply. You want to know what she had the audacity to reply to me with? "Things come up. Don't take it personally." Bitch, don't fucking tell me how to take it. I will take it personally because it's not a hard issue to resolve. In fact, the solution is a damn simple one. It takes less than 30 damn seconds to send a simple text saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to hit you back up. Something came up. Talk to you when I can." That's all you got to do. You don't got to apologize for not being able to live up to your word. You don't have to give me the reason why. You don't have to give me a detailed play-by-play explanation. All I want is a quick and simple notification that you're not going to call me back so I can go on about my day. I'm not asking the world here. In fact, all I'm asking for is simple courtesy and respect for my time. I mean, let me put this into perspective. If this was just a random girl I met online or through a dating app or whatever that I had no prior history with or anything like that, and she pulled that shit on me, she wouldn't even get a second chance. She would get blocked and completely cut off on the spot, because in all actuality, I shouldn't have to tell you not to do that. Everybody should just know not to do it because it's common goddamn sense. It takes you no damn time at all to just send out a simple and generic notification that you won't be able to talk to somebody because something came up. We live in an age where we have smartphones where you can record yourself saying something and it'll convert it into a text message if you don't want to have to dedicate the short time it takes to just type it out. Unless it's like a fucking emergency life or death situation, there really is no excuse. But because I had prior history, chemistry, and untapped potential with this girl, I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. And it seemed like I was right for doing so, because for the next few months, she actually started doing a good job of setting proper expectations, following up, and even letting me know when she couldn't. And that's all I asked for. And you know what? I gave her the same exact courtesy and respect that I was asking of her, because that's just the right thing to do. And things were going great. She would FaceTime me while she was running errands, doing her schoolwork, and even when she wasn't feeling good, which absolutely made me feel special. She would even sometimes DM me while she was at work, and she wanted me to do like tuck-ins when she was going to bed. We just had a really good thing going, and the potential for things to really escalate was there if neither of us were entangled in our own situations. Sure, she had a few issues, like her stubbornness, impulsiveness, and the aforementioned childish passive-aggressive behavior, but hey, nobody's perfect. However, once her fall college quarter ended in early December, that bad gut feeling I had about her back in the day suddenly reappeared out of nowhere, and I couldn't put my finger on why. We started to talk less, our FaceTime sessions started getting shorter, she wasn't initiating contact as much, and I started getting the feeling that I was only being used as a placeholder because she was in school and didn't have as much free time to be out and about. Then the shit hit the fan, and it's at this point where I'm gonna break out the DM logs. So I hit her up for like the third time in a row, when before we took turns, asking her what she was up to. She told me that she was doing her makeup. I'm kind of getting a weird feeling about that because the only time I saw her do anything with her makeup during the entire 5 months I was talking to her was when she was visiting her home state of New Mexico. She currently lives in Massachusetts. As you can see on the screen, I ask her if she's planning on going somewhere or having somebody come over, to which she answers no to both. We then proceed to FaceTime for less than half an hour. Our average FaceTime sessions before that point was like an hour to an hour and a half. During this FaceTime session, she told me that she had just gotten out of the shower, which appeared to be true, and she was doing her makeup just to do it. And from there, that weird feeling got worse and worse. Now, I'll admit right off the bat that this is pure speculation on my part, and there's no real definitive evidence that proves my theory correct, but I have plenty of circumstantial evidence to back it up. I think she was lying about the reason why she was doing her makeup. Even during the FaceTime session, while I didn't say anything because I didn't want to start anything, I thought she was lying right to my face. Why do I think she was lying? Well, let me present the evidence. Exhibit A. I contacted her just before 7 p.m. her time, and she responded at around 7:15 p.m. her time. That means she had been in the shower sometime between 6:30 p.m. and probably 7:10 p.m. her time. What's the significance of that? Well, the entire time I had been talking to her up until that point, she usually didn't shower till right before she was going to bed, which was usually anywhere between 10 p.m. and after midnight her time. That breaking of the pattern did not go unnoticed by me. Exhibit B. Her saying that she was doing her makeup just to do it. Guys, most women don't do their makeup for no reason just because. Not only is doing makeup a whole time-consuming process, but taking the makeup off is a process in itself. If a woman is doing her makeup in 2021, or in 2020 in this particular case, it means one of three things. Number one, she's planning on taking some new pictures and or video for her social media. Number two, she's going to be spending time with a dude she has high interest in, whether it be her going to him or him coming to her, or even through videos such as Skype or FaceTime. And number three, and this is the option I'm going with, she's going out. Why is that the option I'm going with? Exhibit C. During the FaceTime conversation, she even said, well, now that I'm putting on makeup, I might as well head over to this one spot when I get done. Obviously, once again, I didn't say anything, but at that moment, I thought to myself, bitch, that was your entire plan off the rip, okay? You ain't slick. And this spot she was headed to just so happened to be where she met her sugar daddy, where she knows and is friends with the owner, and where the owner and said sugar daddy are buddies as well. I mean, come the fuck on now. You think I'm fucking stupid? I was born at night, but it damn sure wasn't last night, and I've been up all damn day. Exhibit D. And this is what would really lead to our falling out. At the 25-minute mark, she suddenly said, hey, hang on a second. Let me call you right back. Hang on just a second. I said okay, and she hung up. That hang on a second turned into all night with her not calling me back like she said she would, and with zero notification that she couldn't call me back. I was fucking pissed. Because I done told this cunt once about pulling that nonsense, and she fucking goes and does it again. And finally, Exhibit E. I noticed for the rest of the night that she would appear active on Messenger for microseconds before going offline again. And the last time she appeared active was around 2 a.m. her time, when she had to get up for work around 6:30 or 7 a.m. for an 8 a.m. shift. And the only time she went through that much sleep deprivation the night before having to go to work was when she had a lot of homework and or studying to do. Which she didn't in this case because she was on break. You want to know what I think happened? I think the reason she told me to hold on a second and hung up on me all quick like was because her sugar daddy had arrived. Like, I don't know what the reason was for her to lie. I already knew she was seeing him, so why try to hide it? What, was she trying to spare my feelings or something? I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have liked to hear that, just like I didn't like to hear her talking about him in a positive light regularly, but what the fuck can I do about it? Not a damn thing. I'd much rather you be straightforward with me than have to try to lie to protect my feelings. She was straightforward with me before, so what the hell made this any different? If I had gotten the chance to confront her about that, and she would have come clean and told me that she did lie, I would have cut her off regardless of her reasoning, because I wouldn't be able to trust her anymore at that point. But again, like I said, I admit that this is all pure speculation on my part, with the only evidence I have being circumstantial. But there is a pile of said circumstantial evidence which is too much to ignore. However, even if she was telling the truth and nothing was going on, it still wouldn't matter, because that's not even the issue I have with her at this point, and not the reason I confronted her. But yeah, after she disrespectfully flaked on me and left me hanging with zero notice for the second time, I thought about cutting her off right then and there. But I was stupidly trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, because after all, the mystical signs were pointing me in her direction. So instead, I decided to go no contact for a week. If she had hit me up at any point during that week, I would have ignored her ass. But she didn't, which was another bad sign. Now is where shit's about to get real. After the week time period is up, I contact her and ask her if she was done disrespecting me and my time, or should I just go ahead and walk away. This was a third super generous chance I was giving her, and was her opportunity to apologize, explain herself if she felt like she had to, take accountability for her actions, and take the actions needed to make sure it didn't happen again. That's all she had to do. But instead, this entitled Diary of a Mad Latin Woman bullshit takes over, and she thought she had ground to stand on to get sideways with me. Don't you dare come at me like that or I'll leave right now. Bitch, I'll come at you whatever goddamn way you deserve to be come at. Ain't nobody scared of you. Ain't nobody fucking scared of you or any of your threats. Those Latin female fire wolf tickets of yours are no good here. Especially when I know, per what you've told me, that it's all a front and that deep down, you're an insecure little girl. If it comes down to my fiery anger versus yours, guarantee yours is gonna lose. Guys, when you've done the internal work and have internally leveled up like I have, pussy doesn't have nearly as much power over you as it does the average thirsty ass dude. I'd be willing to bet there's at least a couple of girls on my Facebook friends list that I can slide into their DMs and get some shit popping. Hell, I even told her about another potential option I had. Fuck, even if I had 0 options, I still wouldn't be afraid to walk away from some trifling, disrespectful bitch because I know exactly what I'm worth and what it is I can do. I'm not gonna tolerate disrespect. Period. Fucking period. Now, if I had cussed her out and called her all sorts of names, like I'm doing now and like I wanted to do, she would have every right to clap back at me the way she did. Yet all I did was ask a simple question, and she came at me like I was the most disrespectful dude in the world. After she disrespected me first, mind you. She thought I would just bend the knee and profusely apologize for daring to rightfully hold her accountable for disrespecting me. Maybe if I was a no backbone having beta male simp, I would have done that. But I'm not. So think again, bitch. The funny thing is, she's told me that she's tired of being the strong, independent alpha female type and wants a strong alpha dude to make her relax into a more traditional female role. What she doesn't seem to realize is that a strong alpha dude is going to check her ass whenever she's out of line, when she's out of pocket. And that's exactly what the fuck I did. Yet she goes into that strong, independent woman who don't need no man mode and completely negating what she claims she wants. Yep, that's par for the course with these females. Walking contradictions. You don't get to be all insecure and tell me you can't be alone, but then be this strong, independent alpha female. Shit don't work like that, and you can't have it both ways. So yeah, I wasn't fucking having it, and I not only explained to her what it was I was referring to, but also affirmed exactly what I just said. That I'll come at her whatever damn way I see fit after being disrespected, and I don't give a rat's ass how she feels about it. And she comes back at me with some of the most absurd shit I've ever heard in my life. First of all, at no point did I give any sort of indication that I thought your life revolved around me. If I thought it did, not only would I expect for you to give me actual reasons why you couldn't FaceTime me, but I would also be upset that you were doing other things aside from talking to me. All I was asking for was a simple, generic notice that you wouldn't be able to call me back like you said you would. That's it. I don't give a rat's ass what you do outside of talking to me, and at no point did I demand any sort of explanation for why you weren't able to call me back like you said you would. And if I did, show me the receipts. Show me the proof. I'm pretty sure you can't because I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. But if it does, I'll gladly own up and apologize for my mistake. Unlike you. And no, me demanding explanations after the fact is not the proof you're looking for, so don't even try to go in that direction. I want you to show me instances where you actually did give me a notice, and I pressed or demanded to know the reason why anyway. After you've already flaked on me and pissed me off, yeah, I absolutely demand a fucking explanation. Second, me being upset about being blatantly disrespected and flaked on is apparently me having an overstroked ego? Wow, you can't even make this shit up. I bet you a large stack of chips that had I done that or something similar to you, you'd never let me hear the end of it. Oh, but I better not dare check your ass for your shitty behavior. Third, like I told you in that original conversation, I'm not assuming jack fucking shit. You set the expectation of calling me back, so the responsibility falls on you. It's not up to me to figure out why you ain't hitting me back up and just go on about my day when you can hit me up and interrupt something at any time. In fact, there's been a couple of occasions where she would just up and call me back like an hour later with no notice, and I had to stop what the fuck I was doing to talk to her. Thankfully, those things I had to stop doing weren't very important, hence why I was able to stop doing them. But what if they were? Just like I'm not going to make assumptions about why she ain't calling me back when she said she would, she shouldn't make assumptions that I'll always be available when she hits me back up without warning or notice. Now this right here is my favorite part. Instead of being a jerk, how about asking me if everything is okay? Now, who has an overstroked ego and wants their feelings catered to? This fucking bitch wanted to disrespect me and flake on me, yet expected me to be more concerned for how she's doing? Like, are you fucked? You done lost your goddamn mind. There's a clear order of operations here. The first damn thing that should have been and was addressed was you disrespecting me and flaking on me for the second damn time when you were warned after doing it the first time. Despite that snide remark about letting me go off on my tangent, you didn't do it again until this most recent point, so I figured you got the message. But apparently I was wrong, and apparently you didn't. Once that was properly addressed and handled, then I would have been more than happy to discuss your emotional state of mind at that point in time. And the hilarious part is that she doubled down on this sentiment not once, but twice. So basically, she wanted me to put her first at all times and fuck whatever issues I have, especially if she's the one that caused said issues. And you know what? By default, meaning that there were no issues on my end that she's caused, I would have been more than happy to oblige her. In fact, I did oblige her quite a damn bit. But now I see that she wasn't worth that because she wasn't willing to return the favor, especially if she was the source of my discontent. Because that would mean actually taking a close look at her own actions and hold herself accountable for them. And we can't have that now, can we? That pretty face, luscious titties, thick with 2 C's figure, and juicy ass all give her the license to do whatever the fuck she wants with no consequences. The hell was I on thinking I could bypass all that and treat her the way she deserved to be treated based on her actions? Yeah, it's me that's out of line. Must be a problem on my end, huh? And then the third time she doubled down on it, she inadvertently and definitively exposed herself. She said that the reason she wasn't hitting me up the whole week after we last talked was because she was sick that week. First of all, it didn't matter to me why she went MIA during that week, not only because I was only talking about the night she left me hanging, but because I was on a week of no contact anyway. Second, while my theories about the makeup and why she hung up on me suddenly and never contacted me again that night are admitted speculation, I can confirm that the statement of her being sick that week is a 100% factually confirmed, grade A, black gold, Texas tea lie. Oh, you were sick that week, huh? Really? Really? You were sick? That's really what you're going with? Okay, then. All right. Then tell me something, Sabrina. Was one of the symptoms of your illness the uncontrollable urge to film and upload 4 or 5 videos to your Facebook showing off a tour of your apartment? Or was that the doctor recommended treatment for whatever illness you claim to have had? Did you really think that just because I wasn't hitting you up all that week, That I didn't notice what you were doing on your Facebook and wasn't taking mental notes? Oh, I'm not doubting that you were sick at any point during that week, but for the whole week? Fuck no. Get the fuck out of my face with that garbage right fucking now. So now that you've been caught in a clear-cut, clear-as-day lie, I gotta wonder, what else have you been lying to me about? I could actually think of a few things, but you know what? I'll refrain on that for the time being. But anyways, on top of all the bullshit she fed me and the false hard posturing performance she was putting on, she also thought she had the right to dictate when the conversation about me being disrespected would end. That right there was the last straw. It's at this point that I decided to cut her loose, to which she responded by instantly blocking me. You thought you could just control the conversation about what you did to disrespect me? No, bitch. The conversation is over when I say it's over. You could have just taken your rightfully deserved ass chewing and or made amends for your behavior and made things a whole lot easier on yourself. But since you decided to not do either and blocked me, now we're doing things the hard way, which means your complete and utter incineration for hundreds and perhaps even thousands of people to see. I told you from the beginning, several times, that I was not the one to be fucking with. I told you that I could be the most loving, nurturing, caring, and thoughtful man you've ever known, or I could be the most detached, heartless, cruel, cold, and evil sumbitch that has ever stepped foot on this planet. And whichever one you got was based entirely on your actions. You got a small taste of the former, but now you're choking on the latter from getting this work, and not the work you would have preferred to get. And given how well you know me and know exactly what it is I'm capable of doing, you really should have known better. But you probably thought that I was so infatuated with you that I would never, ever, ever, never do something like this no matter how much you tried me. Well, senorita, Puddin' Pop, you were wrong. You fucked around and now you're finding out. And it didn't have to be this way. Had you exercised a little bit of humility and shown me some respect and held yourself accountable, this could have all been avoided. And what can you even really say against all of this? What could you possibly say? How dare you tell the truth about me? That's all you can really say because that's what it is and I got the receipts to prove it. The most you can actually say is that I'm angry, bitter, petty, spiteful, whatever you want to say so you can sleep at night and not have to own up to your behavior. You can feel any type of way you want about everything I've said here. I don't care. I no longer have any motivation or obligation to protect you. You wonder why you have a hard time with people and why people seem to talk shit about you, especially back in our Fort Stewart days? I'm thinking it might be long overdue for you to finally take a look in the mirror. Now, I'm not saying you're at fault for all of those aspects in your life, especially if what you've told me about your family is true, but I can definitively say that as far as you and I are concerned, I've clearly laid down the facts and the truth that proves without any inkling of doubt that you are the one who was at fault. And maybe, just maybe, you were the one at fault for a lot of other things you struggled with back in our Fort Stewart days as well. But yeah, you and I are pretty much done for good. That question you asked me about whether I'd show up to your funeral if you died, yeah, you can forget all about that now. Far as I'm concerned, this video right here is your funeral, and after it's uploaded, you will be dead to me for all times. I told you that once I walked away that it would be permanent. Had we ended things on amicable terms, while it still would have been permanent, this video wouldn't exist. However, since you decided to come at me sideways and would have none of the accountability you were rightfully due, Now I'm going to make really sure that it's super duper industrial strength permanent. And as for that smart-ass, snide little have fun babysitting remark you capped our whole interaction off with, referring to my possibly soon-to-be ex-girlfriend, my response to that is I'd rather babysit a woman with emotional issues but with a good moral compass than deal with a level-headed female that is disrespectful and triflin. So yeah, have fun continuing to wait on your senior citizen sugar daddy to leave his wife that he's had several years to leave even before he met you. You say that back in the day you weren't ready to actually be in a serious relationship? Well, guess what? You still ain't ready, and at this rate, you never will be. I guess the silver lining to being blocked is that I no longer have to see your woe is me, I'm so tired and lonely, I deserve this, that, and the third post on my timeline that are all self-inflicted because you'd rather be a side piece for a taken rich man than be a main wife for a regular man who wants you, even though you claim the latter is exactly what you're looking for. I guess the moral of the story is never try to get with a chick who listens to Nicki Minaj and Cardi B unironically. One more thing. If you're thinking of trying to contact my girlfriend to snitch on me as retribution for this video, don't bother. First of all, how do you plan to contact her? You have zero way of getting in touch with her. You don't even have that Facebook page she DM'd you on back in the day as a potential contact method because she deleted that account a long time ago. And even if you were to get a hold of her, it doesn't matter because I've already come clean and told her everything. Not only did she not go off on me, she actually wasn't surprised and even understood given what's been happening between her and I. Hell, she initially thought that I was using my nightly walks as an excuse to go and actually fuck somebody else, which she actually thought she deserved if it were true. Well, I wasn't doing all that, so me talking to you seems tame by comparison. So, yeah, you really have no fight back against this. My advice to you is to take this video as a learning experience and maybe try to actually better yourself and hold yourself accountable for the things you say and do. So maybe the next guy who comes into your life will actually reap some benefits of being with you and not have to be subjected to the fuck shit you've subjected me to. But I doubt you will, because you'll be too busy holding out hope for your happily ever after with your senior citizen sugar daddy, who will likely be dead before you even reach 50. I'll leave the dudes watching this video with this. Fellas, you should all have some semblance of red pill awareness when dealing with women, especially when you're trying to hook up and start something with one. Yes, it's very much possible to overdose on the red pill to the point where it's detrimental, which I'll make fun of in my next video whenever that'll be, but do not be naive to female nature. If your gut is telling you that something isn't right about a particular woman, listen to it. You don't have to chuck your deuce the moment you get the feeling, because there's always a chance that she could render that feeling moot, but be aware of it and use it to your advantage. You have to vet these women. I'ma say it again. You have to vet these women. I cannot stress that enough. I know you want to get straight to the fucking. Trust me, I understand. But if you don't take the time to learn a woman's ins and outs before getting to that point, you could be making a huge mistake. I look at this experience as if I dodged a bullet, because if she was willing to pull this type of fuck shit when we weren't even together, imagine what she would have tried me with if we did end up together. You don't have to immediately run for the hills the moment she shows you a red flag either. Let her pile on the red flags. Give her enough rope to hang herself with, and when the time comes, pull that fucking gallows lever and watch her dangle. Force these hoes and tricks to be held accountable for their actions. And to be able to do that, you gotta learn to play their game. Learn to play their game and become better at playing it than they are. The Great Exposer has spoken.